Welcome back to another One Piece chapter review and discussion. Today we're going to be talking about chapter 1095, and trust me, this chapter gets very, very dark. But before we talk about that, I quickly want to take a look at the cover chapter, which is Buggy having his nose stolen by a monkey. So I don't know how Buggy's going to react to that. Maybe the monkey will get shot. Hopefully not. I hope the monkey makes it away. But at the same time, I kind of hope Buggy's nose is returned to him. But with that aside, let's actually get onto the chapter, which is so dark. And when I say that, I mean it. This chapter is very, very dark. And, you know, of course it is the Celestial Dragons in it, because when a chapter is dark, it usually has the Celestial Dragons in it. But before I talk about those bubble-headed idiots, I do quickly need to talk about Saturn, because we start off right where we left off with Saturn. And now, I said in the last chapter that I didn't think he was very strong, maybe a little lower than Admiral level. I believe I may have been mistaken, because Sanji, Frankie, and Vegapunk can't even stand, and Bonnie is currently in a chokehold after the blade she stabbed into Saturn's neck was shattered into tiny pieces. Not to mention, we've also got a bunch of Marines running from the scene, saying that they can't actually gaze upon him, and that only Vice Admirals and Admirals are allowed to gaze upon his holy form. Now, I don't know what they mean by this. Do they mean they aren't allowed to look at him full stop? Or is it that they can look at him, but only when he's not using his devil fruit? Which I think personally would make a lot of sense, because you don't want a lot of Marine soldiers just seeing this supposedly holy figure looking like a nightmarish monster from the abyss in hell, because to be fair, that's what he does look like. And if a bunch of Marine soldiers saw you looking like this, I think it might just ruin your image ever so slightly. But anyways, I really like to see stuff like this, the way Oda shows off how things work. I just love it, because until now I thought that these people were like big public figures. I thought the Five Elder Stars were like these big famous people, everyone loved them, they were like the head of the world. But no, apparently they're more secretive than I actually thought, and I didn't understand that, but you know, now I do. And this guy, well, he's pretty damn strong, because, you know, he gets Bonnie in a clutch, he gets everyone on the floor, and Luffy is currently incapacitated after quite a painful fight with Kizaru, who, you know, is also on the floor, so it wasn't all for nothing. But that aside, we then see Bonnie, who has a sort of flashback. So we're getting a flashback in this chapter, and I'm assuming that Bonnie got her father's memory when she stepped into that sort of Kuma-shaped paw ball in the labo phase. So I'm assuming she has Kuma's memories, because if she didn't, I don't know how she remembers any of this. But either way, we get a flashback from her of Kuma as a child, and how the second he was born, he was kidnapped along with his family and taken to the Celestial Dragons. And it's actually quite sad seeing this, because the Celestial Dragons kind of treat them as like esteemed slaves, because they're of a particular race sort of similar to that of giants, and that is actually really interesting to me, because for a long time in One Piece there have been characters that aren't giants, but their stature is genuinely stupid. Like Whitebeard is like 10 foot or so, but he's not a giant. Big Mom, I don't believe is a giant, but she's about the same size as one. There are a lot of characters like this, so I'm going to assume that for the time being, they're of the same race as Kuma, which is the Buccaneer race, who also have a connection to Nika, the sun god, which obviously now we know is connected to Luffy as well. And that is very, very interesting. So we're seeing a connection between Kuma and Luffy, even from a young age. And we learn that Kuma's mother actually died while being a slave for the Celestial Dragon. And Kuma's dad tells him that, you know, she's in a better place now, she'll be happier there, and it gets absolutely just downright sad what happens next, because Kuma genuinely wishes that he was in heaven as well, because what's the difference between being a slave to the Celestial Dragons and being in hell? Honestly, that is so sad to me. It's just so sad to see that even at that age, Kuma wanted death because of how bad the Celestial Dragons were. Like, this is no new knowledge. We knew that the Celestial Dragons were bad news in One Piece, but having it solidified again to us in this chapter is downright brutal. Oda, I need an apology. It's just making me upset now. But then we cut a few years later to where I can only assume Kuma's dad is now dead because we don't see him again. But what we do see is that the Celestial Dragons hold a tournament on a country that is unaffiliated with the world government. And that tournament is not just any old tournament, it's in fact a hunting game. But can you guess what they hunt? I'll give you 3 guesses. Do they hunt animals, humans, or, frogs maybe? Let's go frogs. No, you'd be right if you guessed number 2, because they hunt humans. They hunt their own slaves, and whichever race of slaves win get to have a special reward. Now, this is just messed up. Like, seriously, Oda, come on now. But that aside, we do actually see a very important character and a very important place in this chapter. I'll talk about the place first, because that place is a place that is extremely important, and a place where an extremely, extremely big fight happened between Garp, Goldie Roger, and a very mysterious Rox DZ Beck. That island is God Valley, and the fact that it's God Valley and it's still around means the battle is yet to happen, but it's soon to happen, and the island will disappear off the map. And the fact we're here, the fact that we're on God Valley, means we might be getting a full fight of Goldie Roger, Garp, and Rox DZ Beck brawling it out. And here's my prediction. I personally think that Rox is the last owner of the Gum Gum fruit, but that's just me personally. I don't know if that's true. That's just a theory. Anyways, that aside, remember I mentioned that important character? Well, that important character is actually the current head of the Holy Knights, being Saint Figaland Garland. I know that name is stupid, but either way, he got all of the Celestial Dragon bitches. They are coming after him in droves. He got that crescent head looking ass, and he just slices down the king of God Valley in one cut. Honestly, bit of an idiot. Like, bro, what were you thinking? You just go up to Celestial Dragons, go, yeah, you can't come here. As if they were going to listen. Like, I know, you gotta protect your people, but it wasn't gonna happen. At that point, you should all just run and hide, and if possible, maybe flee the island. But either way, you're done for. But back to Kuma, who is currently ran into the middle of the island and kind of gotten beaten up by other slaves, who I'm pretty sure are angry at him for maybe, like, I don't know, betraying them or something. I don't really understand it. But then we see some very important people. We see Emporio Ivankov as a child and their younger sibling, Ginny, who are currently both slaves. Now, we don't know who Ginny is, but we sure as hell know who Emporio Ivankov is. Emporio Ivankov is an extremely important character that without her, I don't really know what gender Emporio Ivankov is, so you know what, I'm not even going to try. But without Emporio Ivankov, Luffy would never have survived Magellan's poison, and also Crocodile would never have given birth to Luffy. That's a wrap, folks. Just kidding, of course, but either way, that is the end of the chapter. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, make sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and even subscribe, because we are on our way to 500 subscribers, and with the support you guys have been giving me recently, with the last video and all of the videos before that, I believe we can make it to 500 subscribers by the end of this year. So any support with that would be much appreciated, but that is the end. So goodbye to all of you lovely, lovely people.